Satav. You've got me. I surrender.
What if Disney had made John Carter its first ever animated feature instead of Snow White? Back in 1931, animator Bob Clampett pitched a John Carter adaptation that could have changed animation history. Fast forward to 2012, and Andrew Stanton's live-action John Carter movie hit theaters, but the sequels, including John Carter II: Gods of Mars, never came to be. The original plans for these films were packed with wild adventure, new characters, and a fierce battle against the Therns. Imagine how different things could have been if Disney had embraced this Martian saga from the start. Disney's 2012 John Carter film had big plans. Initially, it was intended to kick off a trilogy, but unfortunately, the sequels never came to fruition. Directed by Andrew Stanton of Toy Story fame, John Carter was based on Edgar Rice Burroughs' classic sci-fi novel, A Princess of Mars. The film did an impressive job of building an expansive and mythological Martian world with a compelling mix of cosmic conflict, romance, and stunning CGI action. The story centers on John Carter, a Civil War veteran who mysteriously ends up on Mars. On the planet, he discovers he can defy gravity and make massive leaps, all while encountering strange creatures and getting caught up in a deeper conflict. The movie's ending, which left things hanging, set up potential for more sequels, especially given the vast source material from Burroughs' books. Stanton's vision for John Carter 2 and 3 was huge, but despite the foundation laid, these sequels never came to life. It's easy to wonder what went wrong. The movie had so much potential and a great setup, yet it didn't connect with audiences in the way Disney hoped. Still, the story that John Carter could have explored is rich, and fans can only imagine where the saga could have gone if Disney had followed through with their plans. But there's another intriguing option Disney could explore for John Carter. While many fans think of the 2012 live-action film as the first attempt to bring Edgar Rice Burroughs' story to life, that's not actually the case. Way back in 1931, A Princess of Mars was pitched as an animated feature. If it had been made, it could have predated Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which became Disney's first ever feature-length animated movie and a landmark in cinema history. Imagine if John Carter had been Disney's big breakthrough, what a different world it might be today. Now fast forward to the present. What if Disney circled back to this original animated concept for a John Carter revival? With animation, they could bring the rich Martian landscapes and otherworldly creatures to life in a way that sidesteps some of the challenges the live-action film faced. And here's the kicker. Disney could even bring back the original cast, like Taylor Kitsch and Lynn Collins, to lend their voices to John Carter 2 and 3. Fans who were disappointed by the cancellation of the live-action sequels might finally get to see, or hear, their favorite characters continue the story. It would be a bold move, but given Disney's love for revisiting and reimagining their properties, it doesn't feel completely out of the realm of possibility. Plus, an animated sequel would honor both the story's roots and its fans' long-standing hopes for more Martian adventures. If Disney plans to create an animated John Carter Part 2, going for an Arcane-level animation style would be a game-changer. For those unfamiliar, Arcane is a stunning Netflix series that uses a cutting-edge 2.5D animation style, seamlessly blending 2D and 3D techniques. This animation approach has also been praised in other projects like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. By combining the best of both worlds, 2D's artistic expressiveness and 3D's depth and realism, Disney could give John Carter the kind of breathtaking visuals it deserves. The Martian landscapes, exotic creatures, and high-stakes action sequences could be vividly brought to life with this technique. A series with bright neon accents and textured visuals could beautifully depict Barsoom's desolate deserts, sprawling cities, and epic battles. Plus, the ability to show characters' inner turmoil through stylized, expressive animation, something Arcane excels at, could give John Carter a fresh emotional depth. Disney could learn from Fortiche, the studio behind Arcane, which skillfully mixes 3D environments with 2D textures, hand-drawn effects, and experimental touches like neon scribbles. This combination creates a dynamic and immersive style that doesn't feel overly polished, but instead feels raw, energetic, and alive. If Disney wants this to succeed, they'd need to commit the time and effort similar to what Fortiche did for Arcane, which took 6 years of meticulous planning, writing, and animation. While that may sound like a long time, the payoff could redefine how animated adaptations of epic sci-fi are perceived. An animated John Carter sequel done with such a visionary approach could not only win over existing fans, but also attract a new generation of viewers. With the right team and a dedication to delivering something unique and visually groundbreaking, Disney has the chance to turn John Carter into the cinematic masterpiece it always aimed to be, this time in animated form. Let's take a step back to the 1930s, when Disney wasn't the animation giant it is today, and John Carter was nearly Disney's very first full-length animated movie. Back in 1931, long before Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs even entered development, Bob Clampett, the Looney Tunes director, pitched a feature-length A Princess of Mars adaptation to Edgar Rice Burroughs, the author of the original John Carter novels. Burroughs loved the idea, knowing that, given the technology of the time, a live-action John Carter would be impossible to pull off, but animation could make it happen. Burroughs even recommended that Clampett create an original story for the film, and with the go-ahead from MGM, everything seemed set. By 1936, Clampett had produced some groundbreaking test footage featuring rotoscoping techniques, which made it look like characters were actually moving in real space. One sequence even showcased an 8-legged creature, and it was unlike anything seen before. However, the public wasn't on board. Audiences found the concept of a man on Mars too outlandish, and they just couldn't get into it. Despite this negative reaction, the project evolved into plans for a series of films based on multiple John Carter stories, but MGM ultimately decided it was too risky and canceled the project. A few years later, Disney released Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which went on to change everything, cementing Disney's place in animation history. Had John Carter come out first, however, it could have changed the course of animation history. Disney might never have been the powerhouse it is today, and MGM might have taken the lead instead. If that John Carter animated film had hit theaters, Bob Clampett could have become a household name instead of Walt Disney. Characters like Porky Pig might not have come to life through Clampett's work on Looney Tunes, and the John Carter franchise might have been a household name rather than a long-forgotten failure. It's wild to think that a single animated film, had it been successful, could have dramatically reshaped the history of animation and Disney's legacy as a whole. That said, imagine if Disney had gone ahead with that John Carter animated movie back in the 1930s, following a storyline somewhat similar to what Andrew Stanton had in mind for John Carter 2. The sequel's plot was supposed to kick off with Deja narrating the events of the first film to their son, Carthoris, believing John Carter would never return. But of course, things take a turn when Matai Shang, in one of his shape-shifting forms, kidnaps the child and sets the story in motion. Fast forward, and we pick up where the first movie left off, with John Carter returning to Mars. There, he teams up with Tars Tarkas and Deja, who's on a desperate journey to find their son. What they uncover is a hidden underground city run by the mysterious Firstborn race, who control the planet's resources, all while following the false goddess Isis, who turns out to be Matai Shang in disguise. The tension builds to a point where Carter nearly ends up killing his own son, who's been transformed into an adult superhuman by Matai. But by the end, the family reunites, and the three Martian races unite to defeat the Therns. It's fascinating to think about how Disney could have explored this epic storyline in animation, potentially setting the stage for an alternate history of both John Carter and animation. And that's that for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.